Beyond the Resume, the power of the candidate voice, next on the RecTech podcast.
Welcome to RecTech, the podcast where recruiting and technology intersect. Each month, you'll hear from vendors shaping the recruiting world, along with recruiters who'll tell you how they use technology to hire talent. Now, here's your host, the mad scientist of online recruiting, Chris Russell.
Hey again, RecTechies. Welcome to the only podcast that helps employers and recruiters connect with more candidates through technology-inspired conversations. Mastering recruitment technology is the key to hiring great talent, and that's why this show exists. All right, Darrian Mikell is the founder of Qualifi, the platform that helps companies streamline their screening, scheduling, and video interviews. And he joins me now on the podcast. Welcome back, Darrian. Good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you too. How have you been?
I'm pretty good. Love the swag there, the purple swag, and the koala you got going on there. Looks sharp.
Yeah, we always got a rep, right?
That's right. Before we get into the topic today, what can we expect from Qualify in 2024? What's new with you guys?
Yeah, hopefully a lot. We are really excited about this year. We just did our team kickoff to set the tone for what this year is going to look like for us. And I think the high level is we want to share more with the world, both in terms of the product and in terms of the things that we've been learning and the insights that we've been capturing along the way in this now coming up on 5-year journey for us. And so there's a lot there. We've interacted with hundreds of thousands of candidates at this point. And so there's a lot of insights that we're excited to start sharing and then building into the product as well.
Yeah. Hey, what's the pulse of employers right now as far as just their willingness to bring on new technology like this? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's been all over the place in the last couple of years, but I feel really excited because it seemed like as we kind of coming out of Q4, people were obviously setting plans for what this year is going to look like, and we're seeing a lot of reception in terms of people being interested and wanting to actually start deploying new technology into their organization. So
yeah, new year, new budgets.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, let's kick things off. Share with our audience, Darrian, why you believe understanding the candidate beyond the resume is kind of crucial in today's recruiting landscape.
Yeah, obviously, we very much focus on, as a company, that step in the journey, usually after a candidate's applied to an organization, and now the recruiter has a resume or an application, and they need to decide if this person's qualified or if they could be a good fit in the organization. So the reason I think it's very crucial to understand beyond the resume is because the resume and the application is so limited. I think we've all seen tons of different blogs and articles talking about how the resume is dead and things of that nature. I think the resume still has a place and a purpose, but it is just a piece of paper. It's very limited, and the reality for the recruiting side is that candidates move fast, and so our job as recruiters is to take that piece of paper and figure out how to make sense of it, make decisions from it, and usually that involves trying to get a deeper level understanding beyond what's on it. And so I feel like what happens after that resume, what happens after that application is submitted is crucial. Plus, with AI, there's there are more ways to trick people with what goes on that piece of paper these days. So having a human interaction of some sort.
I just had on founder of Earn Better. They do AI resumes, and it's kind of a new evolution,
new frontier.
Yeah,
and like I said, there's a place for that, and I don't think it's inherently wrong that people utilize those tools, because some people are just not great writers, period. Some people don't know how to write a resume, and that also shouldn't be a bearing on whether or not you're qualified for a position. It just makes the job that much harder for the recruiter. So that's usually, even before AI came into the picture, that's usually why recruiters pick up the phone and call candidates and try to get a deeper understanding and have more context behind what they see there.
Yeah. So you're speaking at TA Week next week, is that right?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. What role does candidate voice play in this transformation of recruiting, do you think?
I think it plays a big role. Again, obviously biased, and what we focus on is the voice with candidates. And I think it plays a big picture, and I think that's why I'm very optimistic about where Qualify fits into the picture, because um, we see a lot happening on, pre-resume and engagement with candidates with text and chat. And we see a lot of things happening on kind of the intelligence in deeper stages of the hiring process. But that crucial step in between is where we tend to fit in. And I think there's so much opportunity to learn about candidates, get their feedback earlier in the process, and have deeper context for what makes a candidate more qualified or not at that crucial stage. And so when I say candidate voice, I mean both literally their voice and also kind of the metaphorical meaning too, with perception in terms of experience and things of that nature, candidate experience and things of that nature. So I think it's extremely crucial because it's usually at the forefront, or the one of the first steps in the hiring process.
Yeah. What has a client told you about that process? It's hearing the voice of a candidate. I mean, anything stand out to you over the years?
Yeah, it's both like anecdotal, and I think there's some real things that we're still learning behind that too. Like I said, there's only so much you can gather from what you see on an application, and a lot of the industries that we work in, it's hard to discern the differences between candidates from resume to resume, or from application to application. When you get to talk to the candidates is where you start to learn, like, oh, this is what they meant by what they put on, in terms of their qualifications. And sometimes a lot of them have like the same certifications or the same base requirements. And so now it's sifting through those applicants to be able to tell which ones are going to be a fit for the context of that, for that employer.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we see day in and day out too, because obviously like we care about the candidate feedback directly. One of the things is like being able to engage with candidates very quickly in the process and giving them an opportunity to voice themselves beyond a resume. One of our most successful clients, actually, they use our product almost less of a screening tool and more of an opportunity for the candidate to submit.
To engage.
Yeah, well, it's not even like the engagement. It's like they use Qualify at the point of the application, so every candidate gets an opportunity to submit their application, but with the application comes their ability to answer some questions and provide context too. So we see really high feedback scores from candidates for that particular employer. And my thought process is because they see it as more of a voice application and less of a screening tool in some cases. So
Yeah, it's more than just submitting a resume and hoping for the best at that point.
yeah, like they feel heard, and like
Yeah.
they have like a real shot beyond just the piece of paper.
Looking for your next HR technology role? Go to your browser, type in hrtechjob.com, and browse hundreds of jobs with the best HR technology vendors. HR tech professionals finally have a dedicated job marketplace to find work or be found. Sign up for job alerts or post a resume. Discover jobs with companies like Workday, Phenom, HiBob, Deal, and more. You'll even find HR tech roles with employers in case you want to work with managing HCM or HRIS platforms. HR Tech Job, the only job market for HR technology careers. Join us at hrtechjob.com.
I know you guys like to focus on streamlining that hiring process, but talk to me more about how adopting a data-driven approach impacts the efficiency and effectiveness of recruiting for talent teams.
Yeah. Data is everything. It's becoming more and more everything. And I think the reason it's so critical to have a data-driven approach is because you don't know what you don't know, and you can't optimize for what you don't know is not working. And so having base level data and information gives you a clear picture of, hey, here's where our process is breaking down. Like, we're good at the application stage, we're good at the phone interview, but then when we hand off to hiring managers, there's this big delay. Like, how do we fix that? And so when you're thinking about the solutions and your tech stack and all these sorts of decisions that have to be made, you can do that from a solid understanding as opposed to just guessing. And so I think that's kind of base level. And then when it comes to making candidate decisions from a data-driven perspective, um, one, going into a process, knowing what you're looking for, in terms of if you're hiring for a specific rec, then you know, then you can tell yourself, hey, this is specifically what we're looking for. We know what it looks like when we see it. That way, when you do make the decision, it's confident, and you have a framework for how you're approaching interviewing that candidate, searching for that candidate, so you can streamline the different stages in the process a lot more easily. And like I said,
Yeah.
you can make those decisions confidently and fast.
What are some practical tips, Darian, that companies can make today to achieve some kind of edge here in the job market landscape in terms of just attracting, engaging, and hiring top talent?
Yeah, I think it requires a lot of work. The term I've been using, like even internally for my team, is or the phrase is like it's simple but not easy. The simple side of it is that I think the number one thing that teams can be doing to set themselves up for the most success in recruiting is optimizing for speed, because speed takes care of, I think, two factors at the same time, is the efficiency, but also the effectiveness in terms of the quality of candidates. All indicators and all data points to top candidates are off the market faster. So if you can set your operations up to move at the pace of candidates, then you can win the best ones over. And so a couple of things with that would be some of the things I've already mentioned. One is setting expectations with candidates. So some of our best clients, they do this even without our suggestion, is telling candidates when, like, at the point of application, hey, here's what to expect.
Yep.
Here's what our process looks like, communicating with them along the way so they don't feel that black hole effect of applying into something and never hearing back. But then also they are prepared and know that they're still being considered, still want to engage with you. And then enabling or creating structure and discipline in the organization. Obviously, like the data side of things, but also like structured interviews, I think, are a good practice because from that data side, again, you know what you're looking for. You and your hiring manager are aligned. So you're not spending time with ill-fit candidates. You're spending time with the best candidates, and you're able to ask the right questions that are going to bring out and surface the right information. So that way you can streamline things. You can hopefully skip a couple of previous steps that you had in your process, and then make decisions with confidence and land them. So that those would be a couple of tips that don't require a ton of technology.
Yeah, sometimes it takes some leadership and effort in making those changes, So
Yeah.
very cool. Hey, let's talk about the candidate voice itself in terms of how it's being embedded into the recruiting process. You guys are actually doing some of that, of course, there at Qualifi, but where are we going with this, Derry? Give me like 10 years from now, how is the voice being used in the recruiting and hiring process? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. This is something like as part of my bigger grand vision.
Yes, I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited because like what we do is tap into like one, we're very focused on like phone interviews, and then now the next stages of the hiring process that happen after the phone interview. Our medium is through asynchronous phone interviews. So recruiters tend to pre-record questions for candidates, send it out, and the candidates respond to that. I'm very excited about extending that capability beyond an asynchronous medium into live conversations, things of that nature. My overall kind of thesis and opinion is that for however long phones have been around and recruiting has been around, the methodology is, hey, I call these candidates and I like take notes while I'm writing, or take notes while I'm talking to these candidates. Or maybe I don't take notes. It's just memory and opinion at that point. But there's so much data that can be gathered by even a simple 15-minute conversation with a candidate. The words people use matter. How they talk about their skills matter. What they talk about in a conversation with a recruiter versus what they put on paper matter. And previously, all that data just goes to the wind and never to be used again. And so I'm very excited about tapping into that, learning more, pulling out skills, insights, things of that nature to help make these decisions faster, and provide a more holistic picture of a candidate to recruiters beyond just what they see on a resume and what they kind of chicken scratch down while they're trying to have a live conversation. So I don't even know the fullest extent of where that can go, but I'm excited to start, piecing that together, and learning more about what can be learned from those conversations.
Yeah, very cool. And what's your favorite metric that Qualifi delivers inside of your little dashboard there to employers?
What is my favorite metric? I think it's either time saved per recruiter, and that's usually a calculation based off of like what tends to be a typical phone interview.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we've come to learn is our recruiting teams align their value with us with time to hire. The thing that we can control the most is time to interview, which the old traditional way of doing phone interviews statistically takes around 7 to 8 days to complete.
Yeah, it's like a week or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a week. And a lot of our recruiters say, it took us like 2 weeks to get through our phone interview process. And what we tend to see is that it's less than 20 hours from the time a candidate receives an invite to the time they take it. That convenience that we offer really empowers candidates to move faster, which is obviously advantageous to the recruiting teams as well. So yeah, in some industries it's like way less than that, like 6 hours or less. And so candidates want to move quickly. It's just recruiting teams are limited and they can't move at that same pace with the candidates.
Definitely. What events you guys going to be at this year?
That's a good question. The one that we're most focused on right now is obviously TA Week. That's coming up next week. It's in my favorite place to be, San Diego.
Nice.
I get to escape this cold weather that I'm experiencing in Indiana. I think I plan to be at HR Tech. I know RecFest has been one that was first time in the States last year. We really enjoyed that. And so we'll be back again this year. Those are, I think, the couple that are locked in, and I think there's going to be a couple others that will lock in along the way.
Sounds good, man. It was good catching up. Tell the audience where to go learn more about Qualifi.
Yeah, qualifi.hr, qualifi.hr, and then you can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm one of one in terms of my name spelling, so find me there.
Nice.
Got a lot to share.
Definitely. Well, good to catch up again, Darrian, and thanks for your time today, and we'll see you on the road.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
That will do for this episode of the RecTech Podcast. Be sure to follow us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, via the @RecTech Media handle. See every podcast, video, and blog we publish. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And remember, always be recruiting.
Another episode of RecTech is in the books. Follow Chris on Twitter @ChrisRussell or visit rectechmedia.com, where you can find the audio and links for this show on our blog. RecTech Media helps keep employers and recruiters up to date through our podcasts, webinars, and articles. So be sure to check out our other sites, recruiting headlines, and HR podcasters to stay on top of recruiting industry trends. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon on the next episode of RecTech, the Recruiting Technology Podcast.